This is DJ Morena Libre.
Good morning, everybody. This is DJ JC. Happy Friday, March 1st. Yeah, February's done.
Black
yeah.
History Month is gone.
Yes.
So
and
no
now,
more talking about Black History Month for the rest of the year. I know, it's ridiculous how we put each other in months, but it's okay. I guess people learn.
But no, yeah, so March 1st, and we're in a festive mood, as you may have heard by the first song as we opened. We are celebrating Charo Days over here in Brownsville, and it has been a week-long activities. And yesterday was the first night of Sombrero Fest, which, if you're from Brownsville, you know that Sombrero Fest is held in Washington Park. And they close down streets. Parking is incredible. People charging $20 to park in front of their houses.
Yeah, I would. Make some money, side hustle right there.
Hey, if it works for you. You know, one time we went to the Charo Days parade, so there's also parades going on. So if anybody is in Brownsville, there's a lot going on this weekend. Tonight is the Illuminated Parade in the evening, and so I went to the Saturday parade a couple of years back, and the Saturday is the International Grand Parade, and it's a really long parade, so I knew we were only going to stay there for a little bit. And so we go, and this guy is charging $10 to park in this empty lot, this field, whatever. So the one thing, so I asked him, no one's going to get blocked? No one's going to get blocked. We're going to make sure everybody has space. So we go to the parade, and we come back to our vehicle, and sure enough, it is blocked, and he is nowhere to be found.
Bye, he took off with your money.
He took off with the money, and he took off. So, yeah, so then we were forced to stay to the end of the parade, to at least that person that was blocking everybody got out. But so went to Sombrero Fest last night. I don't know, you said that you didn't go this
time. I'm heading there on Saturday.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
So we went last night. A lot of people, a lot of activity, and the same thing. People charge you for parking, and so we were there till about midnight, and hopefully everybody that went had a safe time and enjoyable time, and it seemed pretty peaceful.
Yeah.
People were pretty cool. So yeah, the weather right now is 57 degrees. And the reason I say that is because it's supposed to stay like this throughout the day. I think the highs we're supposed to get is 64. And I think tonight, if you are going to be either at the parade or you're going to be at Sombrero Fest, it should get down to 58. So you may want to take so you may want to take a light jacket, a sweater. I know it might clash with your Charo outfit.
There's plenty of jackets, beautiful clothes that's made for winter.
That's true.
So,
there is.
It's not even winter. I mean, it's just a little cool breeze that's coming through.
Yes, because tomorrow we're back to 86 degrees in the morning. So, yeah, it's just something.
86 is nice.
Yeah, 86 is nice.
Well, when you're sitting sipping on coffee, right? I don't know. I shouldn't speak for everyone.
Yeah. I know, again, this is something in Brownsville that we celebrate Charo Days, and I think up the valley, Hidalgo Border Fest, I believe is happening next weekend from March 8th through the 10th, so up in Hidalgo County.
It's the spring celebrations, huh?
Yes, because then after that we go to spring break.
But also didn't it happen like the Mercedes?
The livestock show?
The livestock show?
Yes,
Didn't it just happen
the rodeo.
too?
I think it was the rodeo.
Yeah.
No, the rodeo, all
Yeah,
that.
I thought it just happened.
Yes.
But I don't go to... Did you go when you were growing up?
To the livestock show?
Any of them, I mean, Charo Days. Okay. Charos I was forced to because I was in band. So starting in 6th grade, I started going. So it was by force. But any of the other, I really never went up the valley.
I went to the Mercedes livestock show once.
Not a good year.
Walked in. And the smell was just too overpowering. And my mom and my family were like, vámonos.
Really? Es que y'all are urban. That's
why. So we're not used to that.
I mean, you get a good sniff.
Yeah, you do every once in a while. But yeah, we walked in there, and I was like, I think we're done here. Yeah. We went to the Los Fresnos rodeo a couple of years back, and that was pretty cool. But
I've been to the one in Zacatecas.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I mean the smells everywhere.
Yes.
But I haven't been to the ones here.
Yes.
I've been to other ones, but I haven't been to the one here. Maybe next year I'll do the tour.
Yeah.
Maybe we should take the radio show out there.
Let's go, man! Live stream it on the road. On the road. No, so yeah, I've been going to the parades and the carnival for a couple of years now. Both as a teen and then with my own family. And I think you and I were talking about this, and maybe we mentioned this at the last year's episode around this time. Was that there is a carnival that also comes down to Brownsville. As part of the Charo Days.
It's in Amigo Land.
Yes, in Amigo Land, yes. And I remember that you had to go to that carnival Saturday night.
Yes.
You had to.
Yes.
Because because if you didn't, then you were out of the loop
You'd
on
miss
Monday.
Out. By Monday, you'd miss out.
You had no idea.
Yep.
And people didn't want to talk to you. You were shunned from the cafeteria.
Yes.
But you were part of something if you went and you could talk about it.
And I think that's just part of the sense of belonging, right?
Yes.
That one Bronzeville gives, but also these celebrations.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you don't even have to participate or go or anything, but the city shuts down.
Yes.
I mean, the schools.
Mm-hmm. There's no school today for Brownsville.
I mean, except for UTRGV. But I mean, but of course, it's unique to Brownsville.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it gives you place.
Hay un orgullo.
Oh,
Yesterday
course.
when we were at Sombrero Fest, para toda la gente de Bronzeville, and everybody's just, Tamaulipas, and everybody's clapping, everybody's cheering, and whether that's the alcohol talking or whether that's just the spirit of community,
it's a
whatever
border
it
community,
is,
right?
yes.
I mean, we are very U.S. centered, but we live in a border community. There's people from all over Tamaulipas here.
Yes.
And beyond, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, and I see it with my students. Like one of my right now I'm teaching about manifest destiny.
Okay.
Such a wonderful conversation on
this
manifest
is
destiny.
For who? For what students?
Environmental studies.
For environmental studies, okay.
Yeah, so it's an ideology, right, that the settlers, you're familiar with manifest destiny, right?
Uh-huh.
The settlers gave themselves the God-given right to steal land, right? So they, we're talking and having a discussion, and they're having a difficult time with the concept. So I show them a video, and but then I show them another video because one of my students straight up told me, you know what? I don't know anything about manifest destiny because I didn't go to school here. I went to school in Matamoros.
Okay.
So then I'm like, I need to start bringing in then, things that are discussing both nations because it's impacting our students are transporters, right? So I showed them a serie. It's called Los Temas, and it's by Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal.
Yes.
And they're focusing on la Ciudad de Mexico.
Oh.
And each on it's very specific natural resources, which are the ones that we need to survive: air, water. And then food, right? So there's a bunch. So I showed them the one on water, and I had the best conversation ever because they were able to identify more, I think, with that narrative coming from Mexico. They were speaking in Spanish.
Okay.
The type of activism is a little bit different than the one here.
Okay.
And it was just a great conversation. And I'm kind of forgetting where we were going with this, but I mean, it's just, I think our students the grito, like where them getting excited about hearing Tamaulipas, right?
Yes,
Calling out Tamaulipas.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because somos mexicanos,
Yes.
a la misma vez que somos U.S. citizens, right?
Yeah. And President Joe Biden was here yesterday also in Brownsville?
Biden was here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw him at Sombrero Fest con una Spiro Papa. I'm just kidding.
On Instagram.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. No, comiendo una Spiro Papa.
At least they didn't put him like the way they did with Elon Musk. Well, no, he did it himself.
Yeah,
right? But,
yes. Yeah. But, so that, a lot going on in the valley, and kind of a segue into some of the guests that we've had this week that have talked about this area, the Rio Grande Valley, as being such a prosperous place and such a wonderful place to live, to make a life here. And I know we want to discuss some of that a little further about some of the guests that we've had.
So we had, right, I think our first guest was Rosa Alejandra Certuche.
Yes.
Right, artist, local artist. And actually she exemplifies, right, this crossing the border, right? She grew up in Matamoros. She has family in Matamoros. And then
she does some work in Matamoros.
She does work in Matamoros,
in Matamoros.
And then is here as well, right? Raising her children here. So, yeah, I mean, for me, what did you think about that interview?
It was really good. I really enjoyed her passion, and she told us, I may get a little emotional, and she did, which was, her way of just conveying what she's feeling, what she's going through, what when she does her art, how she expresses herself, and very passionate about what she does. And her activism and how her art just mirrors her activism. And I don't know, I found her really interesting. She was really cool. I liked her.
Yes, for me, the reason I invited her was because I see her as a really unique artist. She's and trying to make a living, right?
Yes.
As an artist, which is so hard to do nowadays. I mean, it's always been hard, right? But I think for me, I just admire artists who are out there putting their art out there and making a living out of it. And that's what she does. I mean, she's out there painting murals. She's out there in events with henna. She's teaching workshops. She paints faces. Like, she's out there. People know her because she's a true working artist, right? So I know her as a mother. And I think she's admirable as a mother, so I wanted to invite her and have and capture her her brief story right here in La Hora Feminista. Yeah,
she was a wonderful. I mean, everybody that we've had has been a wonderful guest, and you think about and you hear the starving artist. The starving artist. And I know you and I have talked about that as well, because I know that you have a passion for art, too.
I do.
And so does your daughter.
So I look at them, like I look at Certuche. I call her Certuche by her last name. And I call her, I look at them. I look at Nancy. We'll get to Nancy in a bit, but and then also Mari, right? She's a working artist as well. She's a musician. So I just admire them because I feel that for me, I was dissuaded from an artist profession and life, because of that narrative, that it wasn't. It was going to be starving.
Not going to pay
and
the
I
bills.
imagined myself holding my stomach starving, So I was a kid. You start hearing that when you're a kid, out in the streets, right? And it's just such a narrative, such a powerful narrative. When artists is so much more than just painting or doing a craft. It's a craft, but it's a worldview, and. I believe that architects are artists, engineers are artists, doctors, surgeons are artists. So I'm one of those STEAM people. I integrate art into sciences.
And I know I've been to your office a couple of times to meet about the show, because we do meet about the show.
We do meet about the show.
But you have some really nice. I know, right? You have some really nice artwork. In your office, from your daughter, from your kids,
kids. Both of them.
And so I know you encourage them to continue.
Since they could hold, I think they held what do you call it? A brush before they held a pencil. Just because I wanted them to appreciate art as much as possible. And it's funny because right now we are part of a co-op, the homeschooling co-op. Wonderful moms, wonderful parents, right? Because it's not just the mothers primarily, though, but there's some fathers that participate. And they're wonderful. But one of our peers, she teaches the art, and she's wonderful. And you just see the kids like just go. They're like at the moment that they start. They're like sitting. First of all, they're sitting anxiously, waiting for her to get done, so that they can start like attacking. You know, she even has to stop them for a little. Like, hey, you want to wait? Like, wait. Because they just want to dig in and get their hands dirty, throw glitter everywhere, put glue, paint. Like, it's liberating in a world that is so highly structured. There's so many expectations are placed upon us, so many impositions. Art is that space. Are you an art? Do you have some creativity?
Nada. Honestly, no, Silvia. I cannot draw anything. Honestly, Sylvia, I can't.
I don't believe it.
No. I'm serious.
I mean, okay.
I can't.
How many artists do you know? Can you name me a few artists, famous artists?
Oh, famous artists.
Yes.
Just, I mean, Picasso, Van Gogh. I mean, just
Europeans.
yes. Okay, Carlo.
Of course, you have to make.
Diego Rivera.
It's like mentioning Beyonce or something.
Exactly. And so that's 4. I know others, but I'll say this. I'll tell you this. There is an art. There's this piece, and it's really famous, called American Gothic.
Yes.
And I don't know, for some reason I could just look at that
and get lost.
Honestly, it's really weird. And I know there's been parodies of it. There's all sorts of commercials, but that artwork, it's based on a real house. I think that's in either Iowa, and you can, if you type it into YouTube, somebody actually lives in that house now.
Oh, wow.
And that you can still see the frame that was used. And I always thought it was husband and wife, but it isn't. It's father and daughter. And so
that changes everything.
It is father and daughter. I always thought it was husband and wife, but it's father and daughter. And that particular art piece, I don't know why I am just drawn to that. Sorry about the pun, but no.
You guys, it takes me a while.
No, but that piece, that work, just fascinates me.
She was a daughter, really?
Yes.
She's whoever drew. It was painted by Grant Wood.
Yes, it's hanging in the Chicago Art
very
Institute.
Interesting. That's patriarchy right there. Look, check it out. I mean, look at it.
Yeah, it's. I always thought it was a husband and wife, but it's father and daughter.
Wow, my students learned yesterday about the how land was one of the strategies of land. The way land was stolen is that the more, if you were married, you'd get more. You could acquire more land. So they were just like, what? Like they didn't know that. That's why the family is very important. I have to throw in my
of course.
But that's why family is so important within patriarchy and upholding capital. Okay, so American Gothic, yes.
Yeah, that's
I wonder what is it?
I don't know. I mean, and like I said, it's not only me, but it has been parodied. On
I mean,
TV
it's an
shows.
iconic.
Yeah, it's an iconic.
It's an iconic painting. Yeah. I mean, it's representative, right, of a lot here in the U.S. And it's funny though. I don't know. I haven't studied this particular painting, but do you know why it's called Gothic?
I think it's because of the Gothic architecture of the home in the back.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would have taken it somewhere completely different. Yeah.
Yes.
Have you seen those movies that black artists, black directors are doing right now, where there's one, and I'm forgetting the name. I hope somebody is listening and can text it to me. But it's it's where he goes. It's a interracial couple. He's black and she's white.
Okay.
And they go and they visit her parents, and then he gets trapped in the house, and they want to kill him. You haven't seen that one?
Is that Get Out?
Yeah, I think it's called Get Out.
Well,
yes.
Thank you, sir. I've always wanted to see it. Now you ruined it for me.
It's so old. You should have seen it a long time ago.
I should have seen it. Yeah, is that Get Out? I believe that's the one.
Yeah. So that's what this reminds me of.
Oh,
yeah, it just kind of
interesting.
took me to that place, American Gothic.
Yes.
Yeah. 1930. Okay.
Yeah, 1930, right
Yeah.
after the Great Depression.
You're such a
And then
student of history.
Well, I don't know. This piece really fascinates me for some reason.
Yeah.
That okay, Sylvia. Okay, I know we've talked about this in the past. I know we have, and I've been to a couple of art galleries just because.
Mm-hmm. I think you have a wound that you need to heal. Let's go. Let's go.
No, I have a really difficult time accepting a white canvas that just has one strip of color, and people are just fascinated that it's the best piece of art, and people are analyzing it, and people are trying to dissect the meaning of it. And to me, it's just a white canvas with a streak of paint, and people are trying to find meaning in this. Yes. I don't know why. Anyway,
you know what?
that is my
we
thing.
need to invite
That is my thing.
We need to invite an art researcher so that they can explain that.
Art
for
historian,
us.
art researcher, yes.
Yes.
Because to me, you see people, and I went to one of the museums in Houston, and people are looking at this art, and I'm like, okay, this is, hey, more power to you, man. That's fine.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's what's considered, but there's so much hierarchy within the art world.
Uh-huh.
It's hierarchy, and there's so much capital. And it's such a difficult wall, I guess, to break, right?
Yes,
From
yes.
people who I don't know. I mean, like, not everybody can afford to buy art, or at least a particular type of art, right? Because it's just art. I think for me represents social class in racial or our intersectionalities in society.
Okay.
There's European art. I mean, look, we get taught European art at a very young age. Those are primarily the main artists that we learn.
Yeah. The art, the masters, or the,
of course, and they're even called the masters or the classics, right? And it's just like literature, just like, so these, this emergence of the Renaissance, right? That we also get taught. Nowhere in there are we learning about the Americas. Nowhere, right? So even art is racialized, and it's geographically elitist. So I have a lot of issues with that because I consider my grandmother's dresses. She's a seamstress. Her crocheting, her making the world, creating the world that she lives in with her hands as a true artist, right? And a lot of much art, especially here from the Americas, has been looted, has been reproduced, has been sold, commodified, and the true artists are not getting any of that, right?
You're absolutely correct.
Are not reaching. They're not getting paid. I mean, we go to the pulga, we go to to a mercado, and le estamos regateando. O sea, we still want it cheaper, right? When we know that work was done by that person at her home or their home, and it's their hands doing it, and yet we pay more for stuff that's manufactured, right? So I can go down a rabbit hole when it comes to art
and artists also, like you said,
yeah,
musicians,
Yes,
musicians.
yeah.
I mean, that whole dile no a la piratería, and
Sí.
because
Los
these artists are not.
músicos, los que hacen los instrumentos, all those instruments are indigenous instruments, and they were made by families. They still are. So that's artistry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching this. Do you know Momoa? He's Aquaman, the actor. Jason Momoa. Thank you.
Yeah, we're really close.
Oh. You know him.
See, Jason. I call him Jay.
I don't want to sexualize him over Vaquero Radio, but he is doing a series. I think he already did it, but he's on Apple TV, I believe, and it's called Rome. And he's watching. He goes and visits artists, crafters that he's always admired.
Where's this on? Is it on Netflix? No.
It's on Apple TV. It's
okay.
paywalled again.
Okay.
Sorry. So then he's traveling around, and one of his passions is motorcycles. So these old motorcycles, he's getting them restored. He's took us to one of the episodes was about this sword that he used for a series called C. So they all became blind, right? But they were all like it had been so many generations of blindness that they learned how to adapt, right? So they fought and everything. Anyway, but he had his sword done by this swordsmith. Swordsmith, I believe. A tradition that had been passed on for generations, and he's like so
yes.
It's what I mean. That's art for me. That's art.
It is. I mean, the ornateness of a sword, or just the craftsmanship that goes into it.
A weapon, right?
A weapon, yes.
It's a weapon as well.
You had mentioned something really interesting during the guest that was a musician. What was her name again? Mari. You said something really interesting, and I'm going to connect it to...
Magna. La conocen como Magna.
Magna.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You said something really interesting. I thought about this last night as I was at Sombrero Fest. You mentioned that you make money as a musician, right? You make money as a musician. And you mentioned this during the interview, that it's a lot more than you just going out there and singing. There's a lot of practice that has gone on behind the scenes, a lot of learning. And I thought about that last night because the headliners for Sombrero Fest were Los Dos Carnales, up-and-coming group from Mexico, really popular. And they were only going to play for an hour and a half. I was like, wow, man, these guys are only working an hour and a half. Wow. Yeah. They're only working an hour and a half, And they were supposed to start at 10:30, but it got pushed, so they didn't start till almost 11:10. And they did their set, but they're only going to work for an hour and a half. I'm thinking, man, these guys are only working an hour and a half. But no, there's so much more that goes into that hour and a half.
They're getting paid for an hour and a half.
But there's so much more that has gone into them being in that position.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you mentioned that during that interview that no nomás es, vas a cantar y te van a pagar. No. The hours of practice, the hours of learning, the investment into instruments, the investment into, learning music, and all of that. Exactly.
It's commitment, it's discipline, it's passion.
Yes.
And look how long she's been doing it. I mean, she started as a little kid.
Yes.
And then she started when she was 16?
Yes.
Or maybe 16?
Yeah, 14, 15, 16.
Oh, yeah, or maybe younger. But she started really young, and I really appreciated the way she was taken care of.
Yes, I was about to say that. That these men that were obviously older musicians,
she was respected.
And they were looking out for her and taking care of her and respecting her.
And they because she said it. She's like, because they respected. They were afraid of my mom. So the power of women within our communities tells you a lot, right? I mean, we can laugh, but Just think about that, right? Because there's so much violence in our world. So to find those beautiful, respectful, and enduring moments is beautiful, right? I mean, things could have gone many different ways, but they didn't, because there's a matriarch, right? There's a woman who is being respected within the community, and holds respect, right? So for me, that was really powerful to hear.
It's so interesting you mentioned that, because I used to be a teacher. I was a teacher before I became a librarian. And even the toughest kids at school, even the toughest kids, the ones that were troublemakers, that didn't care, there was always that, sir, pero no le diga a mi mamá. Sí. So they could get in trouble at school. They could do anything. They were the tough guys. No le diga a mi mamá. So don't tell my mom. Don't tell my mom what I did. So yes, there was still that. And like you said, they were worried about the mom. They were concerned with what the mom was going to think. But yes, I go back to that as you're mentioning that. No le diga a mi mamá.
And I'm going to say one more thing. I mean, that's part of that, or it's part of that intersectionality, right? That experience is the varied and also complex lives that women hold. But it's also the fact that mothers and women are constant in our communities. Men come and go because of whatever reason, right? Either they, whatever reason, they're gone somewhere else, or they have to work because of work, right? They have to leave. And that's not always the case, but predominantly that is the case, right? Women are the ones that are constant in a child's life. And I'm not saying that is, these scenarios are in any way. I was raised by a single mother. I was raised alongside her family. So I had a good life. That narrative of a man needs to be, that's been debunked plenty of times, right? But what I'm saying is that what is constant, right, in our lives. So and so women have to hold that respect, right? Have to raise their kids with that respect, because that's it. Like sometimes I'm the only one there, right?
Yes, you're right. You're right. And so I really appreciated that interview also. She touched on a lot of the things that, I grew up learning how to play guitar later on in life. And a lot of the people that she was discussing, I knew some of the, people that she had played in different church choirs, I knew as well. And so it kind of resonated with me that, this person that has been studying music for so long and has, done so many wonderful things, and she's an accomplished musician also, because some of her her songs that she wrote are now part of,
even though
some
she
of these
doesn't
groups.
get paid. But
exactly. And so I really enjoyed that interview, because as a former church choir member also, we had that connection. And she started mentioning different songs. And I think I mentioned during that interview that I had just gone to a wake. And I know you and I talked about this in your office, about some of the classics from church that we sometimes hear, and takes us back to different time or what was going on in our lives. And so I really enjoyed having her here, because she was very real. She was very candid. She was just a really nice person.
And very humble.
You felt it. Very humble,
she's still, I think we're the second maybe interview that she's ever done. So I think for me it's just she I don't maybe it's just our way of being, right? That you just don't see yourself. We keep it real, right?
Yes.
But I don't think she realizes the place she holds in music history, especially here in the Valley.
I remember when you and I started this show and were in talks of doing this show, you mentioned her from the very beginning. This was a person that you wanted to get onto the show from one of our initial meetings. And I was so excited to meet her. I didn't know her, but just from what you were telling me about her, what she had done, who she was, I was just like, yes. And it finally happened, which is great. But I still remember that, us talking about her and her place here in Brownsville and throughout, because, I mean, a lot of her songs were taken by these Mexican groups and just kind of are still out there.
Yes. They're still out there.
Yeah, and the groups are still out there too. Summer music and the groups.
I mean, I grew up with tios and tias who were out in these groups. I mean, and they were. I mean, I saw them. It's hard work.
Yes.
It's a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work.
I would see them get home. Sometimes they'd go crash in my grandmother's house, and it was late, and they'd have the room because that way they could sleep without being interrupted. I mean, it was just
the life of a musician.
Yeah. So it's for me, it's an honor to have had her here. Hopefully, and I do want to bring her back again with the guitar.
Yeah, she was. I know.
With your guitar. And
you want me to bring my guitar too? Yeah. But I'll kind of go full circle here, talking about Sombrero Fest. Grupo Mojado, which is one of the groups that I don't know if she was a founding member of it or was a part of it or something like that.
That was the part where we didn't finish. We needed to finish that part, but she ended up with a Grupo Mojado. She wasn't the founding members. They brought her in because they needed tecladista, but that's where she. I mean, that group really kind of took off.
It did, and going back full circle to Sombrero Fest. They played at Sombrero Fest a couple of years back.
Oh, they did?
Yes, and they are awesome. I mean, they were one of the better groups that I've seen there live. Yeah. Grupo Mojado.
Yeah,
they're really, really good. I remember, I'll go full circle again and admit to this, that I had bought a pirated copy of their cassette at the flea market. Yes.
I was at the flea market.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I was at the flea market with Juan's parents years ago, because they had a stand. And the one in... I always forget.
On 77?
No, it's up in the Upper Valley.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure he'll text me and tell me. And we were just hanging out, and then suddenly you just see this kid running across all the stands and everything, and we turn around, these cops are chasing him. So I guess he was selling pirated stuff,
movies and.
Oh, it was funny. I mean, it wasn't funny for him, but it's it's just funny to watch. And everybody just kind of sits and watches, right?
People watch at the flea market.
You do.
Yes, I haven't been to the flea market in a while. The one 77 here in Brownsville. But I'm not gonna buy anything. Now. I walk out with
something. I mean, they even make those little carts, right? So you can take
specifically for. Yeah, but I'm not gonna spend anything. Next thing you know, I'm walking out with chocolate covered popcorn and kettle corn and I'm not gonna eat there. I'm not gonna eat at the flea market.
Not.
I'm not. Next thing I know, can I have 2 slices of pizza?
Hoy las tostadas preparadas. Yes.
Los papas también. Again, full circle.
We need somebody who does funnel cakes.
Yes.
But I used to go to, when I lived in San Antonio, my ex-husband and I used to go to the different flea markets around San Antonio. Yeah, it's fun.
What's that big flea market in San Antonio?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
My parents love going to that one.
I think it's North.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Those are, I think, too much for me though.
Oh my goodness, my parents go a lot to that flea market.
Do they? They still go?
Yes, they go. Traders Village. Without having to look it up, Traders Village. I remember right there I think it's off of 1604 in San Antonio. Yes.
No, I've never been to that one.
Yeah, it's massive. It has amusement park. It has an amusement park. It has.
Have you been to the ones? You know what? We should do a tour.
Yes.
The valley interesting.
This show has to go on the road.
But we should go check out the pulgas that have music.
The ones up the valley. Dance. The ones in, I think, Mercedes, or the one right there as you're driving up to McAllen.
And then also the ones that have lucha libre.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you seen the show The Rock, like when he was a kid?
No,
no ves nada.
No. Es que siempre estoy leyendo. Yeah, right. Yes, I know. Sorry.
What do you? No, but yeah, it's we go. Oh, that's how his dad.
Just flea markets.
Yeah,
and,
I think in California. He used to fight in the flea markets.
Well, that Traders Village, every once in a while, has wrestling matches. Yes.
Wow. I think we should go on the road. Okay,
I agree.
Nancy Guevara.
Yes, she was a couple of weeks back.
Yes. So it was Gage last week.
Yes.
Gage Davila.
The week before.
And then
Yes.
that was Nancy.
Yeah, another wonderful artist that is using her skill, her craft, to also, advocate, to just, she was awesome as well. I really liked her.
Yeah, so I the reason I invited Nancy was because of her. So for me, she's really interesting. She's an activist, right? No doubt. She's an artist, but she's also an educator. Mm-hmm. So she brings her art and education together to create, right, that activism. I just thought those intersections are so. I mean, they're fascinating and they're unique, but also because there are artists that don't care about educating, right? I mean, they'll send out a message, but they don't care about that, and that's fine. It's different for everyone. But for me, I think I appreciate Nancy. I admire her as well. She has a really interesting way of, I guess, of educating through her art. Like she's also an author. She has a book out, children's book.
Yes, a children's book. Yes.
Where she explains about just the injustices, the environmental injustices that are happening here, and then she'll have community events. If Nuestra Delta Mágica, I wish you would have gone. It's a beautiful exhibition or installation where you walk in. It's a community building that was donated for the event, and it's one of those buildings downtown, like probably built in the 1970s or 80s or so. So you have these lights, right?
Downtown Bronzeville.
Downtown Bronzeville, yeah. And then you read about the history of violence here in the U.S. against Mexicanos. Here in Texas, sorry, and on the border against Mexicanos. So it's so you're learning about that as you're seeing these posters and images. So it's an educational piece or installation. One of the rooms was Bronzeville's being heavily gentrified, right?
Yes.
The whole valley. But she was focusing here, I think, in Bronzeville. And then you walked in and all you saw were for sale signs, or like all the signs that you see, land for sale, or compro casas, or stuff like that. So it's just you see all that in the room. At the back, she had a library, a community library.
Oh, wow! So
it's a beautiful piece. And then on one wall, she had information, or she had a beautiful art piece on the Carrizo Come Crudo, the indigenous community. And then she would have here locally, and then she would have speakers. So she had a historian, that historian, I think his last name is Carmona. He's also a historian, activist, just trying to get the history from down here out to the community, out to K through 12 and all that, because again, we're learning about European. So they're doing that work, but they're also helping. He's also helping the Carrizo Come Crudo collect their history as well, right? Because I'm not sure what their history is in terms of their loss of traditional knowledge, or their traditional. There is oral history there, but I don't know that history. I haven't studied them in terms of, and I haven't gotten to know them as well either. So I can't speak to any of that, but I know that he's working with them to document that history. But the lands that LNG and I think SpaceX are on or want to take are they're sacred grounds. and there's a lot of political issues with indigenous communities and the U.S. I mean, it goes back to the settlement of the U.S., but one of them is that they violated so many treaties and that they don't recognize a lot of tribes on purpose. They have to go through a very difficult process to become recognized. And they do that because then their land isn't mapped, so then it's for the taking, right? Or their lands or their ancestral lands aren't claimed. So yeah, I mean, it's really like, and I learned just from that installation.
Wow.
I learned so much of that. So yeah, I mean, for me, she's fascinating. The work that she does is fascinating.
And her website also goes into that as well.
It does. So if you go look at her website,
I think she has a couple of videos that she has uploaded that discuss some of these different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, no. Her work is really important. And I know she's constantly working. And right now she has she's a fellow. So yeah, no. Nancy is a force to be reckoned with. Yeah.
Yeah, she was cool.
And then we also invited Gage Davila.
That was last week.
Yes.
And I think I took a step back because I just wanted to hear him talk.
Why? Explain.
No, he was just really interesting. He, a lot of stuff that's happening here in the Valley that, we may not know everything. And to shed some light on some of those different things was really interesting. I really enjoyed his conversation.
How did you take all that? Like,
it was a lot. It was a lot to take in. I know we talked a little bit about the starving artist. He also talked about the starving journalist.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting take too. I don't know. I just really enjoyed the conversation with him.
But what the details that he was giving us, what did you think about those?
You kind of put me on the spot here. So,
yeah. Well, we're gonna do the whole Barbie thing again.
Yes,
You're just gonna go around the question.
Yeah.
And I really answer it.
Yes. So you start. I'll go from there. Because I think you and I afterwards we both kind of came to the conclusion that
I want it on air.
No, that we just let him talk, and we both kind of. At least I said that, and you were like, "Yeah, we're just kind of listening." Last week.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I know I've been reading his work.
Mm-hmm.
I know the issues that are going on with what he's discussing, and they're not just happening now; they're historical.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to get your point of view on why you think these things are still happening in 2024.
I had asked,
stealing of land.
Yeah,
right?
I had written down a question that I wanted to ask him, and we didn't get to it. But, from SpaceX to LNG to immigration, and I was going to ask him what the most important issue that we need to focus our attention on was. But, again, it was just such an interesting conversation that I didn't get around to that question. And I think it comes down to just capital and money, and we're going to do things anyway, irregardless, so that at the end we can say that we did it, and it continues to bring revenue. It continues to bring, what is being touted as, man, look at the wonderful things that we're doing.
O sea, nos seguimos vendiendo.
Sí,
y nos siguen vendiendo.
Exactly.
Porque we're not selling. I mean, at least I'm not going out there and saying, "Oh, I need to bring in contracts to Bronzeville," right?
No, exactly.
And then sell my people for cheap labor, right? I'm not doing that specifically, but I am complicit.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we'll go for it. Do it.
Because we vote for people who are sitting in those elected chairs. We hire the people that are doing the negotiating. We educate the people that we put in those positions, right, as a community. So in many ways, we are all complicit. So I was talking to my students yesterday about collective action. And because for me, it's, we can learn about the injustices, but then like everything else, it could just go to the back, right? And we just poured it away, and then we don't touch up on it again ever, until we start complaining and starts as we age. We own a home, we start noticing that our taxes are going up.
Yes.
And those are the things that
That's
then
when it
lead
starts
us.
affecting
Yes,
us.
exactly, right? But when we're younger, or when our parents are the ones dealing with the brunt of all this, then we don't do it. We don't do anything about it, right? To the degree that we don't even vote.
Oh, yes.
Right? So so for me, I think it was really important for him to come and speak to the state of journalism from a homegrown journalist. He's from here. He knows our people. He knows the issues that are facing us on a daily basis. He talked about inflation. He talked about immigration. He talked about land grabbing continually still happening. There's so many health issues. I don't remember if he touched upon health, but it's all interrelated. The stress that we live and experience, the food that we have access to, right? Our community is facing a lot of issues at the moment, just like everyone, I think, under a capitalist society. Or even authoritarian, right? It's just, but we tend to we get distracted by news, by images of every kind, but mainly of other places going through that. And we're at the verge here, right?
But we're like, no, hombre, it's happening somewhere else.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Eso no pasa aquí, It's not, even though I'm having a hard time buying food, there's a lot of violence in my school, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many issues that impact us day to day that they become normalized. So for me, I think it was really important for him to come and point to these local issues. And I think it was really admirable of him to like artists, right? Like a journalist who starts really young, and then he loves the pen, and and reporting, investigating. So yeah, for me it was. I think that was a really great interview. All of them have been.
Yes.
But it was just. It was just. I love it. And I'm glad we captured him. Because I know he still has a long way to go in his career. So I'm glad we caught him earlier in his career, so that later on he can look back.
And he also has a wonderful website if anybody's interested. He has.
You're the promoter.
He has some wonderful articles that he's published, and so check him out.
Yeah. Okay. Well then. So next week, we're not gonna have a show
for the next 2 weeks.
For the next 2 weeks,
spring break is coming up. Also,
it is. It's coming up.
Yeah. So we are gonna be off for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we also had one more guest, and she talked about the women's campaign school.
Yes.
I know her as Angie Popovich, but she goes by Macias as well.
Yes.
But she came, and actually she rushed over here because it was I had a guest cancel, and we were going to come and just chat, but then she texted me, and I was like, oh, you need to come and talk about this school up in UT Austin that's about getting women into politics and training them how to start a campaign or how to help a campaign.
Yeah.
So
and then she was leaving the next day, I think, to Washington, D.C.
She did. Yeah. Yes. She did, and I think her and her children had a wonderful experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone, thank you to all our guests
yes,
so far.
Everybody's been great.
We're going to be gone for 2 weeks. I teach a class next week on mental health first aid to the library.
Yes, you do.
Library staff. I'm excited.
Yes.
Okay. And then, and it's going to be up in Edinburgh. And then a spring break. And then after that, we do have a guest, the Ruido Studios.
Yes.
Okay, so stay tuned for that. And I think we're done for today.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for attempting to answer my questions. I appreciate. You actually went a little bit deeper this time.
I did.
You did.
Yes.
Okay.
But thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Friends, family, and everybody that's tuning in. Thank you so much for your support. We want to wish everybody a safe weekend.
We do.
For those of you in Brownsville, have a safe Charo Days weekend.
Uber it.
Yes, if you have to.
Uber people need,
yes.
need
And
the income. So.
And up in Hidalgo County, Hidalgo Fest, if you're going to participate in that next weekend. Again, we'll be off for 2 weeks. We'll be back. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful spring break also, and a safe one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're going to end with La Llorona by Chabela Vargas.